I'm pleased to say that we're joined in the studio by the brilliant Matthew Torbitts, who's a former Labour advisor, who, yeah, you do look like a bit of a football manager today. It's the combination of the sort of the zippy top, the jacket over the top, and the sort of, what's that guy's name? Ange Postecoglou. Does he have bins like that, like yours?
No, I don't wear glasses.
Who's got the one with bins like? Who's the one with bins like you? As a football manager, who definitely has those with really white teeth. Teeth you can see.
Klopp. You think Jurgen Klopp?
Oh, Jurgen Klopp. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Did you think he looks like him, Jones? No.
Jury might be out on that.
I don't know anything about football, but you do look like a football manager.
He's a bit of a lefty, Jurgen Klopp. I think he's a bit of a socialist. There's, you know, something going on there. I think so. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Similar. Didn't know that about him. Don't know anything about him, clearly. But great to have you here. How are your Christmas plans going?
All a bit last minute today. Last little gifts and whatnot. It's the same every year.
Where are you spending it? What are you up to?
I'm spending it with the in-laws on the day, and then going back up north for a couple of days, seeing the family and taking in the football and everything else. So
that's nice.
Yeah, Boxing Day was a good day. Boxing Day, so yeah, good sports day. What about you?
Well, Christmas, I've got my parents coming over, my neighbour Mia, and then Alex Mass, which is the day after Christmas, because it's my birthday.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
oh, no
yeah.
way.
So you've got the Feast of Christ and then the Feast of Alex, you know, it's a double whammy. Alex Mass, I probably will go to Gloucester and get drunk with James Price, who's going to be with his,
sounds very nice.
His parents, because we're both Gloucestonians, and so we're sort of planning a sort of loose combining of the elements. Basically, it's really hard. When you're born on Boxing Day, you never really get a birthday party. It's going to be the 42nd year of feeling denied a birthday.
Everyone's doing their own thing, aren't they? Family, friends, all the rest of it. Yeah. You should just delay it. Just have a second birthday in January.
When I was a kid, my mum used to sort of give me a summer birthday, but you know it's not the one.
Well, unless you're the Queen, you know, you get two birthdays. Or
I did have
Paddington Bear.
My 40th birthday I had in late December, you know, before Christmas, booked out a pub. I can't remember it, because I was absolutely hammered.
That's a good time, yeah.
Yeah, but it was, but no, most of the time it's sort of like, oh gosh. Luke, by the way, who's vision mixing today, is also a Boxing Day baby.
Oh my God,
and we've been commiserating together about how rubbish it is, how everyone should feel sorry for us.
No, I'd say double presents, otherwise I'm cutting you out. Like, that's it. You've got to have Christmas presents, birthday presents, otherwise I'm not getting involved.
I tell you what is quite useful for, when you want something big, you can say to all your members of the family, can you just pull together Christmas and birthday?
That's a good shout.
Yeah, and then it's like, right, I want a holiday this year. Everyone, Christmas and birthday. But no, my family are not that wealthy that they're going to be buying me a holiday this Christmas. I have spotted a really nice tweed jacket that I want.
Ooh,
proper tweed, like Harris tweed.
Yeah.
I live in the Cotswolds now, so I've got to get the uniform. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I've got a couple of barbers, but I don't own any tweed yet. And I'm like, right, that's what I need, and before I get chased out of a pitchfork, which they're going to do anyway, because they know I'm right-wing.
Oh,
and
well.
where I'm from,
you've got no chance.
It's Dem land. Anyway, but, you know, I'm not going to chase you out of my studio for being a former Labour advisor.
Thank you very much.
You're kind of, you know, you're sort of slipped because you're sort of normal Labour, and now we've got abnormal Labour.
I think somebody said today, you made me feel very disconcerted because you don't come across as annoying or condescending or insulting. And I think, well, the thing is, listen, me and you will disagree on lots of things, but if we insult one another, we're not going to get anywhere. And I think the only way you get anywhere in life is trying to find some level of consensus. Disagree where you want.
There's always been a lot of sound people in Labour. I mean, there have been, seriously. I mean, I think of people like Graham
Stringer,
yes. And, you know, when Kate Hoey was in Labour, I mean, you know, the sort of right-wing, the Brexiteer Labourites. But I used to like, and Tony Benn.
Yeah, Tony Benn was my political idol.
Oh, Tony Benn. Hillary Benn, not so much. But Tony Benn was signed.
But I also think part of it is we're so divided. We cannot agree disagreeably, and if you disagree with somebody or they're not your politics, they're awful, they're scum, you wish the worst upon them, and nobody wants to talk to one another. It's a very sad state of affairs. It
has become very tribalistic. And I think, I'm going to do a really good segue now, wait for this. I think it all really started with Brexit.
Really? I'd have thought so too.
So why is Wes Streeton digging it back up again? Here he goes. He's suggesting that Britain should rejoin a customs union with Europe. I mean, that sort of crosses the Labour Party's own manifesto red line. But there's too much water under the bridge for customs union now. We've made trade deals. It's, you know...
I think it would impact the trade deals we've made with India.
Well, they wouldn't exist anymore.
No, exactly.
Impact them, they would be gone.
Exactly, but you also have to remember this is an individual that is tilting towards the leadership. Rumours certainly around people I know in Westminster seem to think it's possibly as early as January that Wes may move against Keir.
When you say may move, what does that look like? Is he just going to sort of like sneak out of a cupboard in number 10 and boss him over the head?
Only Wes Streeting will know, because, you know, as I think it was Shakespeare, he who wields the knife very rarely wears the crown, and I think what that could mean a couple of cabinet members resigning, sort of on behalf of Wes. So you remember Rishi Sunak? Rishi Sunak didn't resign first under Boris.
Oh,
Sajid Javid went first to make sure he got a plum job. So there'll be lots of talking going on.
He moved well early, Sunak, because he had that he had that website, didn't he? Back Rishi or something, built about 2 years before he made his move.
How is he going to win the Labour membership if he's basically Keir 2.0, and that's why he's sort of showing a bit of leg to go, no, I'm slightly different, so I would I would before joining a customs union. He's obviously trying to aim to seem more and more progressive for the PLP and also the Labour membership. So that's exactly why he's letting this rise from the ashes and blowing hot air into it. And I think, Labour members will overwhelmingly support it. I think it's about 70-80% of Labour members would support joining the customs union.
It's funny, actually, because Streeting's one of those people that a lot of people on the right wing sort of go, gosh, aren't they dreadful? I could probably a few drinks down stomach, Wes. He's someone who doesn't wholly alienate the sort of centre ground or righties, interestingly, because the thing that Starmer seems to be alienating his own people with, they think he's too right-wing. So I don't, you know what I mean? The metric's kind of weird there, because his own backbenchers think Starmer's way too right-wing. And yet the potential replacement in the form of Wes Streeting, righties think is more palatable than Starmer, who seems too left-wing.
I think it depends who you are. Wes has a audience in the PLP. There's definitely a sort of popularity with him. I think even those I've met who are minded to look at going for the leadership, May or before, have conceded Wes is probably the favourite at the moment. He's in quite a good position. It's hard to pin him down. Patrick Maguire wrote a good piece in the Times at the weekend about how it's easy to say about Wes, he's just a Blairite. His politics are somewhat of a different era, and he's only really known Blair's politics onwards because he's still relatively quite young. I think,
how old is Wes?
Wes he's a little bit older than me. He's not quite 40, I don't think.
No,
he's 41.
He's younger
41.
than me. Get out.
Something like that. But there's elements of him that are quite progressive, and you look early on into his career, 2015, 2016, he was straight out the traps talking about not bombing Syria and rebelling against Ed Miliband. So it must have been 2015. There's obviously aspects, when he was leading the National Union of Students, one of the first things he did, which annoyed lots of people, was come out against the Iraq War. So there's definitely elements of him that
it's funny, because that sort of stuff now would sort of make him a lot more popular with the sort of alt-right, the sort of MAGA-y style movement in the UK.
Yeah, and obviously
the foreign intervention stuff.
Whether I agree, disagree or whatever with Wes, he is undoubtedly a fairly good communicator. He's probably one of the better ones Labour have got. And he has that ability in a way that you see with Farage and others, where he sounds normal, doesn't come across like a politician. He has a way of framing things that seems like
he doesn't
normal.
have a sinus issue, which is rare in the Labour Party.
Only just, I would say. Nearly. We have a very strong tradition of electing people with very weird voices and nasal issues. Wes is just about out of that bracket, I think, I'd say.
He is just out of it. So I'm looking at this headline here, which reminds me of this blooming vacuous stupid debate we had about a year ago, and I can't remember what it was about now, but apparently train drivers are working class, says the headline, because Labour's definition of social status allows drivers' children to access apprenticeships unavailable to the middle classes, and yet train drivers earn £80,000 a year. It reminds me of that weird debate we had, and it's like, what is a working person? Do you remember that?
Yes, unfortunately.
Well, I can't remember why that debate happened. It was so inane.
Well, no, you forget. So it was 18 months ago during the general election in which Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves said that taxes would not go up up on working people but couldn't quite define what a working person was, and therefore whose taxes would go up.
Oh, then we found out it was pretty much everyone anyway.
Well, quite. And I think
basically, it's about people who are employees is what they sort of decided. I think that's where it ended up landing. But it's, when you look at that, this idea that, does working class, therefore, the definition of this, where essentially 2,600 train drivers earn between 70 and 80,000. This is TfL. 235 were paid 80,000 to 90,000. The highest earners, LNER, salaries are set to reach 80,000. And Eurostar, where you get 87,000. That's a nice ticket, though, Eurostar. You just sit there and the train goes through a tunnel. What do you have to do?
I don't know. I don't know if you'll know better than me. Others out there will know better than us.
Back in the day, if you were a train driver, you had to sort of dig up coal, load it in the engine like that.
I don't know if there's much of that. I don't know if there's much of that. But they're struggling to get people. This is the nightmare. Yeah. This is why a lot of the strikes happen, because there's a lot of old union laws that, you can't go half an hour over your allotted time and all the rest of it. I think the hours sometimes can be unsocial. The broader question on what makes somebody working class is, I don't know, because I wrangled with this question when I was working in Parliament, because I would consider myself working class, or certainly did up to a point.
Not now you've got a football manager's uniform on, you ain't.
No, but I sat there and I thought, OK, so I'm on above the average salary at the time. I live, albeit renting a room, in one of the most expensive cities in the world. And I work in a building which, in a way, I couldn't think of the right term, but it's sort of like a top 1% job. People that would go and earn top 1% wages, like the MPs and others. People that also wouldn't, the people that work on the parliamentary estate. And I thought, does this make me middle class now, then?
Yeah. You do get to leave your class, I think. Or is it a badge you have to wear for life? Because, I think, this is an interesting topic of conversation. Guys, you guys at home, get in touch and tell me what you think. 03444991000 on WhatsApp, 8722 to text me, right, talk for your text. But what designates you as working class about having a regional accent? Is it about your level of education? Is it the jobs your parents did and therefore how you were brought up? Is it the salary you own at that point in time? Is it the sort of job you have? Because someone might say, well, to be a train driver, £80,000, but you don't need a university degree for it. Therefore, does that make you working class rather than middle class? But there is a sort of fuzziness around, and especially now, it's become a badge of honour, hasn't it? It's far more desirable to identify as working class than say, no, I'm middle class.
Oh, everyone loves a sob story, certainly in politics. So you need to talk, certainly in the Labour Party, about how hard it was growing up and how you ate soil for breakfast, and it's a real sort of, you know how it was, basically. I don't think there's any harm. I do think it's hard to define, because the class system isn't as rigid as it was when Marx used to talk about it in the Communist Manifesto. It's very fluid. So I think you might be on 80 grand a year, for instance, as a train driver. Could you survive 2 months if you were made redundant without any money? Probably not. So you might slip from living in a house that you bought at the right time in London during the 80s and drive a train for 80 grand a year, but you might well be down on your uppers if somebody went into administration and privatised and they let a load of you go or whatever. So I think the same about me. Maybe it is the area you live in. I moved out to Oxfordshire at the beginning of the year. I live with my partner. She owns a house. We have 2 dogs. It's lots of green space. And I thought, so I am middle class now.
You're basically in the Cotswolds, like me.
Yeah, not far from actually.
You're upper class now, so you've
but
got
this
all
is
the way
it
up.
now. But what if people decided they didn't want to put me on the telly tomorrow and I lost my job that I do outside of the TV? Well, yeah, I'd be up a creek without a paddle, almost certainly. So where does that put you as an underclass? Does that put you at temporarily in poverty? Like it's very fluid, and I think you'll struggle to get a definition.
You're absolutely right about this idea that there is no security anymore.
Oh, that's the big thing.
Especially if you... Actually, I think that is the difference, isn't it? If you've come from, say, a working-class family or a low-income family, so you don't have family wealth tied up in trust funds or inheritance or money in the bank account, savings and all the rest of it, you're not the sort of person who, got your parents to help you pay for a deposit on a house, then you might feel like you got somewhere, but you're always standing on thin ice. You know that it can go like that at a moment in time, because, I'm about to turn 42 and I only just bought my first house this year. And I had to work blimmin' hard to get it, and I'm a freelancer, you know?
Yes.
And so at any moment you think, blimey, if this cough develops into something horrible like pneumonia and I end up in hospital, that's right. You know, you think, how much savings have I got to steer through a crisis like that?
I think it's 10 or 15 million people in the country today have less than £100 in savings.
Wow.
I must admit, I probably shouldn't admit on air, I've got no savings.
Is it?
No savings. It was for many years I was living paycheck to paycheck. Not much has changed. Starting to try and put a little bit away, but life happens and things happen, and I think that's the term people talk about, certainly in the academic world, of like the precariat, whether that be 0 hours, whether that be jobs not having the same. We don't. Years ago, you'd have a career, right? Whether that be you'd go down the pit,
linear. You'd start and you
could continue, or there would be pride in industry because there was a lot more industry. And I think two things happened. There was a deindustrialisation from the 1980s onwards, and the fact that we used to be a country, I think, that would make things. Now we put things in boxes, and we're very much a service-based economy that just deliver things. And I think if you look back when Margaret Thatcher deregulated the financial sector, credit wasn't easily accessible, whereas now you can sort of live your dream on pretend money because you want to go on holiday next year, you put it on a credit card, or if you want that nice sofa from, you know, wherever it is.
I literally never used it. I've got a credit card just to have one because I needed to get a mortgage, but I just don't use the damn thing. They terrify me.
But for those that are in precarious situations, it's very easy to borrow on the never. We had a long spate of period of things like payday loans, and when people get themselves in a real mess.
Yeah.
Now, you didn't have that years ago. What you also had, though, is that many people could live off one salary, women would stay at home, children would be brought up by their parents.
But then the demands for the things that we expect to have now have changed.
Yeah, which is
this is why I always think
and capitalism and whatever else.
When we hear that, you know, all these children are being brought up in poverty in the UK, I would think it's so important to underscore the word relative poverty.
Relative is true, yeah.
Because, you know, if you've gone to other parts of the world and seen what poverty looks like, should it be a case that, well, I need to have a smartphone, I need to have a big TV and a Netflix subscription and all these things, which, frankly, in the vast majority of the world, you know, in the Southern Hemisphere, they're luxury items. They're not, you know, something that everybody has. Far, far from it. I mean, talking about smartphones, let's segue again into Summer, who's looking what the Australians have done, which is essentially banned social media for anyone under the age of 16, and is contemplating whether or not we do that here. Now, I must admit, this might put me on the naughty step with a lot of people who otherwise think they like my politics. I'm for this. I think there's a brilliant psychologist called Jonathan Haidt.
Yes.
And he talks about kids and screen time and the fact they don't go out and play. And because they're not playing outside, scuffing knees and climbing trees, they're not learning diplomacy, they're not learning problem solving, they're not learning communication and working together, they're not, you know, developing essentially adult minds as negotiators. And they're becoming sort of very angsty as well. And this need all the time with social media to either need approval, always need approval. Did they like it? How many likes have I got? Has that gone viral? Is it trending? How many views has that got? But then also this sort of like bam, 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 constantly things sort of like flying through things at the rate of knots, which actually neurologically rewires your brain in the same way that online gambling is so much more potent than going down to a bookies and filling out a betting slip, because it's just, you know, the roulette wheel spins again and flashing lights. And I think that one thing we haven't done, the advent of social media seemed wonderful and optimistic and a great way of interconnecting everybody, a big global conversation, stay in touch with all your old school friends. It's weirdly gone the other direction. It's made people lonelier and made people socialise in the real world less.
It has, and I think another point, you talk about the kids going out playing. You're only a little bit older than me. When we were growing up, the only people you would have to compare yourselves to were the people on your street and the kids at your school. Now, kids have a whole world to compare themselves to and remind them, because the algorithm will tell them why they're not good enough, why they're not strong enough, why they're not pretty enough, why have they not got a boyfriend or girlfriend yet, why are they not a professional footballer yet. All these sort of demands, you tie that in with the huge gaping vacuum of fatherlessness that we have a crisis of in this country, and used to be seen as quite taboo, and people seem to be coming round, I think, to the idea that fathers are important as the same way that mothers are, particularly for young boys.
Yeah.
And a lack of mentors, therefore, of what a man is and the idea of masculinity and all this sort of stuff. And I can, as I say, I can only really speak from a bloke's point of view. But you add all that together, and the fact that these social media companies' whole MO is to make you angry. The emotion that will make you reach for your phone and tweet or like or comment or whatever is anger. Their whole business model is to keep you hooked to that. And I must admit, you know, without sounding like a Luddite, it's dangerous.
It is.
Therefore, the day I've decided a couple of years ago, the day I have children, they will not be going on social media.
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
be absolutely as strict as can be.
Yeah.
I think when it's not quite there in Australia. I know there's talk of it here amongst certain people. The idea of banning smartphones for kids, I think, is trickier, because I think in school, about 98% of schools already have a ban. Most people comply with it. And because it's going to be so necessary for careers and other stuff,
what's funny,
kids
though,
are going to have to use them.
The apparatchiks at the EU tie themselves up in knots getting upset about Elon Musk and X. It's hate speech. We need to sort out X. They're constantly banging on about X. That's the only social media platform I'm on, frankly. And yes, you know, some might say that there's fake news and it does radicalise people or tribalise people. Perhaps that is so. But when it comes to kids, and when you look at X, not many kids are on X, frankly. It's a sort of adult play area of social media. And you know, you don't get many sort of 14, 15-year-olds banging out a post on X. They're on Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram. And the things that they're exposed to on there, adult content, things that, you know, I'm not saying, abject pornography, but you look at a lot of the content on Instagram and it's pretty damn close, but also catastrophism. The fact that so many young kids these days suddenly think that they might be trans, that's been directly fed by social media.
I think I would say abject, hardcore pornography is everywhere, unfortunately. And I think, you know, when I was at school, you had to go looking for it. If you wanted to go and see it, you go looking at it.
To it.
Now, I mean, yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah, you know, you shouldn't really be looking. You're only a teenager or whatever else. Now, all it takes is to be on X at the wrong time or Instagram, and there will be posts, and the algorithm again will gear towards what you view. So if you end up watching it, there'll be more stuff lined up for you to see. It's totally corrosive for young people's minds.
It's killing relationships.
Well, of course it is, and it holds up unrealistic expectations about what sex is, about what relationships are, how to treat women in particular when it comes to relationships and other things. I think it totally blurs the lines of consent. And I think when it comes to people being confused and otherwise, it makes people anxious, and again it comes back to the playing out. Social media aside, I think there's an element of social media bosses, whoever they are, absolutely have to take some level of responsibility on what they're showing people and exposing them to. But it comes down to parents to engage with their children and say, look, if I'm going to give you this smartphone, I need to tell you a little bit about the world, because you're going to see stuff that... And my concern is parents don't know enough because it's still quite new.
But that's where I actually think the Australian model's the best, because it's very difficult, you know, to control. If someone's got the device, unless it's hard for them to log into these things, it's very hard to control it. And it's a bit like saying, well, if you're going to smoke cigarettes, giving a kid a cigarette at the age of 5, going, this is how you inhale properly. I'm just like, no, it shouldn't be happening. Matthew, I've loved our chat today.
Thank you.
That was lovely. I like you in the bins as well. It's a good look.
Thank you. I'll bear that in mind next time.
Yeah, and I'll see if I can hook you up with a lower league team to put through their paces.
Lovely. Yeah, we'll see.
The brilliant Matthew Torbett, ladies and gentlemen. Right, we're